Hi, everyone. It's Henry DeVries, and welcome to Agency Rainmaker TV. This is where we help agency owners, small to mid-sized agencies, make it rain with business development. And I'm very honored to have the author of Sell with Authority, Drew McLellan. Hi, Drew. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Henry. How are you doing?
Very fine. Drew, I really enjoy going to your workshops like Money Matters and Filling the Pipeline, and of course, the Build a Better Agency Summit. But why don't you explain who you serve?
So Agency Management Institute, which is our organization, we serve small to mid-sized agencies and their owners. And so our philosophy is most agency owners are accidental business owners. They were really great at the front end of agency life. They were an account service person or a creative director, and somehow through lots of great stories, they ended up owning an agency and realized that there was a whole lot that as an employee of an agency, they didn't learn about running the business. And so we help them run the business of their business better so they make more money and get to keep more of the money they make.
There we go. And I've heard a lot of those stories too, and they usually go, and then one thing led to another, and
Yep.
then somehow. Michael Gerber in the E-Myth said they're good at what they would do, and then they thought any idiot could run a business, and they set out to prove it.
Yeah,
So
well, that was my agency owner story many decades ago. I was 30. It was the perfect combination of arrogant and ignorant. I thought, how hard can it be to run an agency? I've worked in one for 10 years. Can't be that hard. My boss wasn't that bright. And I learned very quickly that I had no idea what I was doing.
yes,
Yeah.
I've had the same experience
Yep.
running other people's agencies and running my own.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, it's much better to run your own small agency than run someone else's large agency.
Yes, I have no doubt that is true. Yep.
Yes, yes. You have one mission to bring a bag of gold every month to the owner. And their
Yep.
only comment was, is that all the gold you brought me?
Right. That's right. Do you have a second bag in your pocket? Right. Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what you do. Agency Management Institute has many services and provides many things for agency owners.
Yeah, I sort of think of ourselves as a for-profit association, like an educational association. So our job is to help agency owners learn how to run their business better. And so we provide a variety of educational offerings, everything from a podcast that we've been running for almost 9 years. And as you mentioned, we do a workshop, we do 10 or 12 workshops a year. We have free webinars and we do monthly Q&As. We hold a conference every May called Build a Better Agency Summit, which starting in 2024 will be in Denver, Colorado. We used to do it in Chicago. But we do coaching and consulting, and really the heart of AMI are the agency owner peer groups. So think of a Vistage group or an EO group, only everybody around the table owns an agency and they're there hanging out with other agency owners to learn from not only us, but from each other. And by the way, to teach as well. So we ask everybody to show up as both a teacher and a student.
And you fill gaps with each other. I know I was a Vistage member,
Mm-hmm.
and but I'm the only agency owner in the
Right.
group. So we're alike, but we're different. There's things that were different. I think it's really great that the peer-to-peer interaction is between people who are in the same boat, and you can fill gaps with each other. So that's great.
Yeah,
Um,
well, every industry has its own methodologies and best practices. And so organizations like Vistage are great for sort of generic best practices about running their business. And a lot of our peer group members are what I would call Vistage refugees. They were in Vistage for a few years, really learned a lot, valued it, made great relationships, but then they got hungry for more industry specific knowledge. And that's when they turned to us.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's certainly great.
yeah.
Um, well, let's talk about rainmaking for AMI. I know you
Okay.
certainly made it rain for your agency, and I'd also like to get into your point of view on authority marketing.
Right. Well, as you know, I co-authored a book called Sell with Authority with Stephen Wessner, and that really is a how-to guide of how agencies make money today. So it really is all about positioning yourself as a thought leader, a subject matter expert, an authority, whatever word you want to use, but basically that you have a very narrow window of knowledge, but it drills super deep. And so, I will often say, I am a subject matter expert on how to run a small to mid-sized agency in a successful and profitable way. I don't know a lot about a lot of other things, but I have decades and decades of experience doing that and teaching other people how to do that. And so that's my position of authority. And so the book really just outlines how you go about beginning to establish yourself as an authority, and then how you, through thought leadership, through generously sharing what you know, through offerings of, free content, how you attract the ideal client to you. And over time, you become such a valuable resource to them that a subset of them is just bound to give you money. It sounds ridiculously simple, and honestly, it is.
And sometimes simple is best. Tis a
Yeah,
gift to be
simple is always
simple, tis a
best.
gift
Right,
to be
right,
free, to quote the
right,
Shaker song.
right.
Um, so some of it, so of course, I'm the agency book guy. I'm always preaching that a book is the cornerstone content, but
Yep,
it could be like in your case, you have a very successful podcast, and that's your cornerstone.
yep,
And I really enjoy reading your um, it's like a newsletter, it's like a blog. You send it out regularly, it's food
yep.
for thought. Obviously, you came from the writing side of the agency. I can tell that. Is that
I
true?
did. Yep. I came up through my agency ranks as a copywriter.
Yeah.
So, and I have over time written, several books for a variety of reasons, both business reasons and just cause. So it is easy for me to create content, right? Because I know things, and I'm a decent enough writer that I can tell a story and tie it back to the thing that I know that makes it relevant for the audience. But, every agency or every business owner knows something. They have a depth of knowledge. And so, in the book, we talk about you want to have one cornerstone piece of content that you can kind of slice and dice into lots of little cobblestones that you spread out over the world, and then people follow the cobblestones to get to the cornerstone, or they may discover the cornerstone first: podcast, a book, a piece of research, anything that's kind of big and meaty that you can kind of slice and dice into littler bits, and then they would then follow the cobblestones. The key is that uh, you know just because someone discovers you and finds your content useful doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to spend money. And so one of the keys to being an authority is you have to have a depth of knowledge enough that you can keep teaching, keep sharing, keep helping people grow. And what we say in the book is, you'll have a prospect in the pool, and it could be a day or a decade before they give you money, and you never know when. And so you just have to keep staying very interesting to them until they're interested. And that's the shift. In the old days of selling, we used to chase after prospects. They knew we were interested long before we were interesting to them. And now with the internet and everything else, most people, I don't care if you're buying a toothbrush or a car or an agency or a book coach or a consultant, you've done 75% of your shopping before that person knows you're even out there. And so again, content becomes really critical and valuable thought leadership content, not the same stuff everybody else writes, but stuff that is from your point of view, that really does. The goal is to teach and to connect and to create community around people who have shared issues and problems so they can help each other. And when you do that, then people keep coming back because you're kind of feeding them, right? And so they keep coming back for the good food. And sooner or later, they're like, you know what? I really know this person. I really like this person. I really trust this person. I'm ready to spend some money. And that's the methodology.
I learned this from Dr. David Maister at the Harvard Business School, who wrote Managing the Professional Services Firm. And he said it's true across the board that you're relentlessly helpful with information that you're giving away through writing and speaking. And then you don't know when. There's a great case study about the most successful law firm in America, billings per attorney. That somebody called them up and said, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. I've got the case. And everybody's like, who is this person? And they found out it was just somebody they'd talked to 10 years previous, was
Right.
on the newsletter list for 10 years, never had the problem. Like the
Right.
joke about the 5-year-old who never speaks until one day he says the toast is burnt. And they said,
Right.
well, I never had a problem before today. Well, this guy never had a legal problem. And
Right.
he said, well, I always thought you were my law firm.
Mm.
might be somebody's agency and not know it, but they
Without
know
a
it.
doubt, without a doubt, I think that the truth of the matter is, in most B2B service industries, whether it's you're an agency or a law firm or a CPA firm or an architect, there's nothing we can do to create a need for our customers. They either need us or they don't. And so, we don't get a Black Friday sale. We don't have a buy one, get one free coupon. There's nothing we can do to incent them to need us before they need us. But what we can do is we can stay in the consideration set by being super helpful, relentlessly helpful, generous with our knowledge for as long as it takes. And again, it could be a day or a decade, but I have at AMI, we have a lot of people who will send us an email and say, I've been listening to the podcast for 5 years and I now have a problem. I need to hire you. Or, you know what? I'm finally ready. I was a startup. I didn't have any employees in the beginning, and your free resources really helped me sort of set a foundation for my business. And now I have 5 employees or 10 employees, and I'm ready to pay money to go to a workshop. Like, I'm ready to level up. And we don't know they're out there, really. The podcast, I have no idea who listening. I mean, I know a number, but I don't know who they are. The newsletter, obviously, we have a list of folks, but there's really nothing we can do to incent them to open up their wallet and recognize that they need to hire us before they actually have that need. So our job is to just stay present and stay useful and stay connected, and to create one of the things I find very interesting, and I'm sure as an author of books, I find this, but I think because it's voice related, I really find this with the podcast. People feel like they know me. I've never met them before, but they feel like they know me. So they'll come up and in the newsletter, I'll mention my daughter or my wife, or, and people come up and go, well, how's Danielle? And I don't know these people from Adam, or I'll have people, I talk about the fact that I'm half Italian. So I'm a big hugger. I'll have people, perfect strangers, walk up and just walk into my arms for a hug, men and women, because they know I'm a hugger, they're a hugger, and they've known me for 5 years, even though I've known them for 5 seconds. But there's an intimacy that's created when you're relentlessly helpful to people that creates trust. And honestly, it's just a better way to do business. I love the fact that I don't have to sell anything, that I just get to be helpful every day. And then I hold out stuff that we do. And if somebody wants it, they can buy it. And if they don't want it, that's okay. And enough people want it that, we don't have to eat ramen every day. So it works.
Like college. Well, you and I preach that. A lot of people, it takes them a while to believe it. I was on a Q&A with Stephen Westner, and this one person asked, so how long are we relentlessly helpful? So should we be
Right.
like 3 months? And he goes, no, and you have a joke. Your joke is until they hire you or they file a
Get a
restraining
restraining
order.
order. Yep.
Yeah, it's a great joke.
Yep.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
And this person said, oh, okay, so you mean like 6 months? Stephen said, no, it's
Right.
like for a year.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. People say, well, how long before I kick someone off my newsletter list?
yeah,
I'm like, if they're opening your newsletter, you never kick them off.
yeah.
You
kick them
Span
off.
cam rules say you have to do certain things, but you don't, just because somebody is not buying doesn't mean they're not referring somebody, they're not sharing your content, they're not telling somebody else about you that you may never know. Or they could be the biggest client you've ever had. They just aren't your biggest client yet. And so what's the harm in being helpful? And again, if I record a podcast, it's no skin off my nose if one person listens to it or 20,000 people listen to it. So why would I want to restrict access to that?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. And honestly, it's just more fun to be helpful. It makes my job a happy job. I get to help people every day. I get to have people say to me, you know what? I got a thank you note today, actually in the mail, from someone I do not know, who sent me a handwritten thank you note saying, I just want you to know I appreciate that you show up in my inbox every week and that your podcast has been so helpful. Who gets that, at their job, normally? And so I'll take that all day long. That I would much rather do that than have a list of people I'm trying to sell to and I'm picking up the phone dialing for dollars. No, thank you.
Drew, I came out of continuing education, and you are an educator, sir. You're an author and an educator. And
Yep.
my saying is, the more people you help, the luckier you're going to get.
That's right. That's right. And again, it's just I don't mean this to be sort of self-reflective, but it's a noble way to do work. Like that you get to help people every day. I'm proud that I get to do that. That's a privilege that Danielle and I own the business together, that every day we get to go to work and help people.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be able to do that.
And we all have different faiths. But I read a book by a rabbi last year, Business Secrets of the Bible. And his number one secret is God wants us to help God's other children. That's our role in life.
Right.
And yeah. And then the other thing is God wants you to specialize. So that's why I don't do plumbing or electricity around this house. I don't want the plumbers or the electricians to be writing books either. Drew,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with me today. I want to have you back in the future. I know you've got a lot more to share. And let's give them the website where they can go for events and workshops.
Yeah, it's the longest URL on the planet, agencymanagementinstitute.com. And you just go to the How We Help tab, and you'll find all kinds of different ways that we can help, workshops and podcasts and research and all kinds of other things you can get for free. Or at some point in time, when you get to know us and like us and trust us, you can give us some money. Either way, we're good.
Yeah, relentlessly helpful. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay,
Thanks for
so
having me.
until next time, I want to encourage everybody, make it rain.